think what's changed now is that we are in the process of solving homelessness through some of our other programs, transitioning people from homelessness to more stable circumstances. We provide emergency services for homeless men and for homeless women. We're the largest shelter for homeless men in Quebec. But one of the things I think that is not commonly understood is that we're the largest shelter for women in Canada. And so we provide emergency services, the overnight safe lodging, clean lodging, shower, meals, new clothes, that kind of thing. So that's one thrust of the services that we provide, the emergency services. Then we have the transition services, and this is where we have counselors that interact with the clients, help to identify what led them to be homeless in the first place, and what are some of the ways that they can move out of homelessness and into greater stability. Sometimes it means helping them to get identification, access to financial support that they're entitled to, that kind of thing, social assistance, and try to direct them towards if they've got a drug abuse problem or an alcohol dependency, or if they suffer from a mental illness, and sometimes it's a combination of all of those things. And so the counselors address the client needs and try to direct them to services that they think will help them. So that's the second. So we've got emergency, we've got transition, and then we've got social housing. And what we try to offer there is lodging on a permanent basis for clients who have gone through the transition program and are now ready, have their lives more stabilized, and are ready to live comfortably within an apartment kind of a setting, again with counselor support. And so we offer some of that. That's what we're trying. That's part of our, if I can call it a business, that's the part of our business we're trying to grow, is the social housing. Well, there was an estimate done about 10 years ago in Montreal that calculated the number of homeless people.
14,000?
About 30,000.
Okay.
And that would be homeless people who have no address of their own. They might be what's called couch surfing amongst friends, going from friend to friend or family member to family member. But there were about 30,000. We can imagine that at least the number's the same, and maybe up to 40,000. Of homeless individuals today. How many actually use shelters? It might be in the order of 10 to 15,000. I think this would surprise a lot of people who would think, oh, the Old Brewery Mission, it's dealing with homelessness, which is a critical social crisis, so it must receive government funding. The government has no other alternative but to depend on services such as ours. So we must be essentially government funded, and that's not the case. That's what people would think, but it's not the case. In fact, about 25% of our budget comes from government sources. 20% comes from the provincial government. So a total of 25% from government sources. That means 75% comes from donors, contributors. So our existence and our ability to offer the services that we do is dependent on the donor public. soothing homelessness as the emergency and solving homelessness as the other program thrusts that we have, we would be able to move a lot of other people from the emergency services to transition into social housing if we had more funds to do it. It's only funding to hire additional counselors to help move people out of homelessness. So yes, we do find that it's a problem. We also find that donations of food and so on have been declining over the past year, and not just for the Oberoi Mission, but for many other organizations in our sector. And that means we have to dig into our pockets. Where we used to get donated food, we now have to buy food, because we still have to provide the meal. And so that causes us to be in pretty difficult financial circumstances, and so that sometimes we're not able to offer the quality of food that we have done in the past or would like to. I think the quality is still pretty good, but it's a struggle to keep it that way. So those are some of the pinches that we feel. Well, we get a lot of volunteers asking, and we get high school students in groups such as yours and other schools, and it's first of all, there's a couple of things about that. I think it says a great deal about young people who are ready to come and serve a meal, for example, at a men's shelter. It's an unknown kind of a reality and a circumstance for many people, and I think it shows conviction, it shows social engagement, and a certain amount of courage to get together and say, we're going to go there and take part. So I think it's really admirable. We feel we're dealing with a crisis, a social crisis. It's an emergency. It's an emergency tonight, right now as we speak, outside the doors. It's an emergency tomorrow. It's an emergency the next day.